Hi, my name is Dednat6 and I just gave a talk at the MXConf 2021 about a new feature of EEV called test blocks. My talk was just 5 minutes long, so I couldn't give examples of how I use test blocks in real life, and so I decided to make this video to complement my talk of the conference and to show how I'm using test blocks to document some of my programs. What I'm going to show is how I'm using test blocks to document a package for LaTeX that I have that is called Dednat6. Dednat6 is let me go to the first page here. Dednat6 is an extensible semi-preprocessor for LaTeX that understands diagrams in ASCII art. Let's see what that means. Sometimes we want to draw diagrams like this, and it's very boring to generate LaTeX code like this by hand. So I developed a program that would understand some specifications of diagrams in comments, for example this one, and it would generate the LaTeX code corresponding to these things. So this is a representation in ASCII art of this tree here, and my program it does the boring part. It generates the LaTeX code corresponding to this, and it also supports diagrams for category theory. For example, this one, that would be a nightmare to typeset by hand, and this one, that is not so horrible, but we can see that the source code is quite manageable here. So LaTeX interprets these things as comments, and my program, Dednat6, understands these things as this block here as a specification of a diagram and generates the LaTeX code for it. And LaTeX code is very extensible, so from time to time I create more extensions to it, and sometimes I have to draw more new kinds of diagrams, and they are very boring to draw by hand, so I create new extensions to draw them. And I'm going to show how I use LaTeX to document these extensions. Just let me explain something first, which is that in the beginning, when I was starting to put test blocks in the source code of Dednat6, I was very shy about it. I thought that by using test blocks in the documentation, people would be scared. They would feel that was super weird. But then I reminded myself that very few people use Dednat6, and that now we have packages like this one. Let me show it here in a new window. And everybody is using this instead of text-based tools. So most people prefer to edit diagrams in this way. Here we have an animation of how people can edit diagrams interactively in the modern way, let's say. So this gives me much more freedom with Dednat6. I could make a big mess with it, especially in the parts of it that nobody else is using, as far as I know. And then at some point I showed that to some friends, and they were able to understand the test blocks immediately, and they could run the test blocks without any hesitation, and they liked them very much. So, well, let me show how these test blocks work and how you can test these test blocks, how you can run them yourself. Let me take this block here and copy it to an MX that has EEV loaded. Note that these things are not red stars, they are not even red, but this first expression here will make them behave as red stars. So I'm going to use a smaller font here. I'm going to type F8 4 times. The first one will make them behave as red stars, and the other 3 ones will create a target buffer here running a shell, a bash. And now I'm going to send these comments. The first one will make sure that Lua 5.1 is installed. This block of 4 lines here, download a copy of Dednat6 to a subdirectory of /tmp. These lines here are comments that are ignored by the shell. These 2 lines here are things that I do not want to explain now. Okay, so I'm not going to explain them. I'm going to just execute them and skip to this one. This one is easy to understand because it's a hyperlink, in a Lisp hyperlink that opens this file and searches for this anchor in this file. And this anchor is in the middle of a very big test block. So if we execute it with F8, we go to this position here, we can see that this test block starts here, but the part that I want to show is here. Okay, so let me execute these tests. If I type F8 3 times here, they set up a target buffer running Lua. If I type F8 here, this Lua REPL loads this file, and if I type F8 in these lines, they create a certain object and display it in ASCII art. Same thing here, same thing here, same thing here, and same thing here. Note that I can also change these tests. For example, I can do this. And then instead of showing the representation in ASCII art of these objects, my program shows shows the LaTeX code that it will generate. And let me run some undos here. These objects here correspond to these diagrams here that I had to use in a paper, especially this one that's a bit harder to draw. And I'm also going to show another test block, this one here. It's the same thing. It shows some objects using ASCII art, but I could also show the LaTeX code corresponding to them. And they correspond to these diagrams here that I had to use in another part of the same paper. And that's it. This demo here can be executed by just typing F8 in the right places, if you understand what you're doing. And that's it. So I just showed 2 test blocks in the source code of Dednat6, and that's what I wanted to show. That's it.